Micato is a family-owned company founded by my parents, Felix and Jane Pinto, in Africa over 40 years ago. They live in Kenya. I live in New York City and am responsible for Micato in the US. And my sister Anna, she lives in California and heads our sales team. You'll notice we put several thousand miles between each of us, and we get along just fine. What makes Micato different is that we specialize just in Africa. Our roots are in Africa. My parents live in Africa. We're locals, and we can give your guests the kind of experience and privileged access that, frankly, no one else can. For example, every Micato traveler to East Africa is invited to cocktails and dinner at my parents' home. My parents are consummate hosts. They love entertaining our guests in their home. Travel and Leisure magazine hit the nail on the head when they said the Pintos treat their travelers as well-loved out-of-town relatives. That really is our operating philosophy and explains why we are the only tour company to have won the Travel and Leisure World's Best Tour Operator Award for an unprecedented 6 years in a row. I'm obviously biased, but I think we have the very best field staff on the continent. All of our guides have been with us for many years, some of them over 20 years. They have the skills and the knowledge to bring Africa to life for your travelers like no one else can. We have a wonderful team of concierge staff, a team dedicated 24/7 to making things work for your travelers. Call them at 2 in the morning if you need medication. It'll show up seamlessly on demand. We have full-time airport teams throughout Africa, so when an airline loses your bag, they make a real nuisance of themselves until the bag is found. And this is the best thing, they get that bag flown out to you in the bush, so you don't have to wait for a few days when you come back through a city to get your bag. That bag is flown to you wherever you are. I'd like to read something that one of our guests wrote to us recently. We were continually delighted by the little extras that were provided, which had to come at considerable expense to Micato. I've never been on a package tour like this where literally everything beyond what your brochure promised was covered. Another big difference is that when you book with Micato in New York, your safari is handled by Micato Kenya, Micato Tanzania, Micato South Africa. We don't subcontract to another company. These entities handle only your upmarket client, so they are truly focused on making this an exceptional trip. You're not traveling with a company, a subcontractor that maybe was handling a low-budget Eastern European group yesterday and today is handling your upmarket FIT client. That just doesn't make for the best experience. We're entirely focused on quality. That may explain why cruise lines such as Crystal Cruises, Silversea, Cunard, Seabourn, all have selected Micato as the operator for their safaris. In fact, virtually every cruise line coming into the Indian Ocean works with us. And we've learned a thing or two from Crystal and from Silversea in terms of quality. We don't cut corners. Look at our meal plan. We don't skip meals under the pretense that your travelers will have an opportunity to explore on their own. Realistically, how many of your travelers are going to wander around in a strange African city at night looking for a restaurant? That isn't going to happen. They're just going to eat in the hotel. So what we do is we arrange to take them out to some really fabulous meals and restaurants in the cities that they're visiting. Check out our itineraries. We don't drive between locations. A 100-mile drive in Africa is frequently 5 or 6 hours of bone-shaking riding over some very tough terrain. We fly. It's such an easy way to do it. The camps have an airstrip. We drive right to the airstrip, hop on a plane. 30 minutes later, we're at the next destination, fully relaxed and ready for game viewing. It's just a wonderful way to travel. And we don't have trips with different levels of service. I've never understood that. We have just one level of service, the best. And because Micato is your operator in the US and also your safari operator in Africa, you don't have to endure multiple markups. This allows us to give you exceptional value. Let me read an excerpt from a letter that we received from a client who had just booked a trip for 12 days at $18,000 a person. This tour was the most expensive travel adventure we had ever considered, and as we embarked, we wondered if the cost would prove to be worth it. Let me assure you that we now not only believe it was worth every penny, but for the dollars spent, we consider it an exceptional travel value. And what many agents don't know is that we guarantee every departure, no exceptions. Once you're booked with us, that trip will operate even if there's only one person on it. And candidly, in 2009, we had several departures with just one traveler. You know, what's interesting is that most people go to Africa for the wildlife. And when they come back and we ask them what were their top 3 best experiences, they never mention the wildlife. They rave about my parents and their warmth and great hospitality. I've seen people get teary-eyed about our guides and our safari directors when they speak about them. And right up there amongst the top 3 best experiences is the time they spend at an America Share project. America Share is our nonprofit that we started 20 years ago that focuses on kids who've been orphaned by the HIV/AIDS pandemic. So we take these kids out of difficult situations, put them in really nice boarding schools, and educate them through to high school and then on to university or trade school, as the case may be. These kids have had a really hard life. They have no material possessions to their name, yet despite all of this, they have the world's best smiles, and they're the happiest people you've ever met. It's truly a life-changing experience. As one of our guests said to me, I got on a plane one week expecting to have an interesting trip, and I returned 2 weeks later a changed man. So in closing, I'll sum it up by saying that on a Micato Safari, you'll have myriad meaningful experiences. You'll see breathtaking wildlife and landscapes. You'll learn, you'll discover, you'll be delighted, and you'll meet scores of wonderful and unforgettable people along the way. And best of all, you'll feel connected to Africa. You'll leave feeling part of our family. Come visit us in Africa.